Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
And thank you, Alec Webb. Welcome, everyone, to MotorWeek podcast number 184. And we are in Studio C at MotorWeek headquarters in Owings Mills, Maryland. And around our oddly shaped table sits the following: our over-the-edge reporter and producer, Zach Mescal.
Hello.
Our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Hey, guys.
Our online content coordinator, Greg Carlos.
Hey.
The only man that really knows what goes on out there in the internet. Our video producer and editor, Joe Ligo. And Joe is also the producer of the podcast. We've got a lightning round, a viewer question about tires. But first, two new Mitsubishis. Yes, they still are selling cars here. Have recently been on our lots, and we're going to start with them. The first is a vehicle that they started talking about 3 years ago. It is finally here. At the time, it was going to be the only plug-in electric hybrid SUV that you could buy. Now it is one of several, but it still was, I think, worth waiting for, the 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. And for anyone that doesn't know what PHEV means, it means plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So, what do you think?
I just drove it to work today.
And?
It's one of the rear electric motor, does the rear wheels, gas engine does the front wheels, and pretty seamless. I know we've driven some other vehicles where you can kind of feel the clunking in the man behind the curtain with the powertrain, but this one seemed pretty seamless.
It's a Chevy Bolt concept on steroids. The two electric motors do almost all of the driving. The gas engine's almost always a generator, but not totally. And when you really put your foot down, it connects. And it's pretty advanced. It's very advanced.
I'll tell you the first thing that stuck out to me, since I didn't spend a lot of time with it, I like all the buttons that make it super obvious whether you're in EV mode, whether you're in charge mode, or whether you're in preserve the battery mode. So
and then there's an Eco Sport on top of that.
Right, then
not Eco Sport. There's an Eco mode.
Right, there's an Eco mode on top of that. But I like some of these cars bury this stuff in menus on touchscreens. But I like having manual control over what my battery is doing. Whether I want to save my battery, whether I want to use it, whether I want to charge it. I like that. I like that they have buttons for it and that they're clear and easy to read. That's my first big like.
I agree with that.
We should point out that the reason you have the plug-in is to get extra EV-only range.
Yes.
Which, depending on whether you use the heating system or not, is between about 17 and 27 or 26 miles. I think I saw 25 on one trip.
Yeah, the website says 22, but if you baby it, you'll get more.
I have two positive things to say about it. I like the styling, and I like how they write out Outlander across the hood. Kind of looks like a Range Rover. Kind of upscales it a little bit. But I was doing some crash testing yesterday, and this is the benchmark now for which I will test everything.
Wow!
What we use the foam pad.
I did my traditional take it up to.
We shouldn't say crash testing.
Yeah, automatic emergency automatic brake
mitigation test.
Brake mitigation test.
So I did my gradual take it up to 20, see what it does, and it performed flawlessly 100% of the time. So I kept bumping it up till I finally got to 35.
Wow.
And at 35, it's coming down hard in those last few feet. It locks up and actually slides a couple of feet, but it stops completely and it doesn't hit the barrier. So I'm like, I wonder how far I can take this train. So I come around hot.
Those crash barriers cost money.
I'm up to 37 miles an hour, maybe 38, maybe 40. I couldn't look down at this point.
Hyperspeed.
It gives you plenty of warning. Audio before anything happens, and then eventually the initial brake hit is hard to wake you up, and then it softly brings you down after that. But anyway, at 37, all it does is audio.
It reaches a point where it's like you're on your own, buddy.
That thing went sailing about 100 feet.
Did you hit the brakes at all, or before
it didn't
impact?
touch it? I don't recall it touching the brakes at all.
I'm talking about you. When did you hit the brake? After contact?
My reflex to that is gone. The first couple times hitting that thing, like, I don't want to do it. But now it doesn't even.
So it didn't slow you down at all.
It didn't try at all. No.
Now was this because did you stop turn the ignition off and on
No.
before?
Maybe it
you were
just said,
just doing it.
Yeah, I did it. This is
'Cause
probably about my
sometimes-
20
Yeah, and we do have to remember that sometimes
times.
this happens when you guys are doing that.
And it thinks it thinks there's a malfunction and it stops
Subaru's
working
notorious for
altogether.
that, but it'll at least tell you that eyesight is
after
turned
3 or
off.
4 times, it turns itself
Yeah.
off.
We had to take in our CRV or the Odyssey because we did it so many times,
Right.
which really wasn't so many times, but
It's
maybe
like
5
some-
times.
yeah.
And we had to get the dealer to turn it off or to turn it back on because they thought there was a fault with the system.
I like the way this one worked. It didn't show any signs of
But do
one
we
to
have
ever
footage?
stop. I don't have footage of me hitting it at 40 now.
Well, that's very interesting because their
great story, though.
videos show that it's claim and I think it's probably borne out by your test that it's very good at low speed mitigation against a pedestrian walking in front of you. And they don't really make claims that it will stop you all the way when it's driving.
We have yet to find a willing pedestrian to walk in front of us.
I
So
do
if
have good-
anybody wants to.
I have good footage of it coming to a locking slide at 35.
Wow.
All right, so we like the Outlander PHEV. Pretty much worth the waiting for. By the way, I drove it 120 miles and used up all of the electric power. The overall fuel economy was about 35, so that's pretty
So
good
even
for
when
that
your
size.
when your battery's down or whatever, you're still getting mid 30s
No,
mileage.
well, it was a combination of the two.
Oh, okay.
So you had about 25 miles worth of electric, and then it was a little under 100 miles of gas. And when you add them together, it read out to 34.7, I think.
Not bad.
Not bad for any kind of SUV. Okay, the other Mitsubishi. It sounds sporty. It's called the Eclipse Cross. They brought back the Eclipse name and put it on a crossover.
They sure
I can
did.
hear everybody just sighing right now.
Can I just say I had no idea that this was a thing, and I walked into the parking lot, and I'm like, what is this? And I couldn't figure it out. So I walked around back and saw that, and I was just like, Eclipse? I don't really understand what's going on here. This is, I don't know.
It's a marketing cash grab.
It's just
dude.
sad. I don't know. I was kind of sad about it. I'm sad. I'm still sad.
I think when we first heard they were bringing the Eclipse back, I'm not sure anybody believed it was really going to be a sporty coupe, but it's like, really? Another crossover? I mean, you're using such a cool name because that was really the bargain sporty coupe of its age. I mean, it was a front-wheel driver, and it wasn't
Good
much
enough
on a
for Paul
racetrack,
Walker,
but
it's
it
good
was a
enough for
cool
me.
car.
Let's face it, though, they did a lot of sabotage to that name before they stopped. the
See,
Eclipse.
that's what I was going to say. All of you guys have great memories of the Eclipse, but as a kid growing up like in a small town, that was like the daddy's money car that like the popular kids in high school drove. They thought they're so sweet because they had like a 10 grand used Eclipse. I don't have fond memories of the Eclipse. It just was always like,
You're talking about the pretty one, though, right?
I'm just talking about any of them.
Gotcha.
Because it was just
Cougar looking one.
You
Not
didn't
that
even
one.
like it as an Eagle, did you?
That's not the one I like. I mean,
there was a kid
Paul
in my
Walker
school.
Eagle
nobody
Talon?
watching this
There-
podcast like that car either.
There was a kid at my school with an Eagle Talon, and he traded it in on a Hyundai Tiburon instead. So.
Those were kind of
Tiburon.
I'm not. I don't hate on a Tiburon. I
No,
like
I don't
those.
either.
I think that means shark, doesn't it? Tiburon?
It does.
Yes.
I learned that recently.
So anyway, what do we think about it? Capable little subcompact SUV, I
The
guess.
styling is like it or hate it. I didn't
Kind
hate
of
it.
coupish a little bit. A little.
It does. I'm going to save this gripe for the Eclipse Cross. I could have easily done it on the Outlander because they share the same audio infotainment center, which looks the part. It looks how you want it to look. It looks modern, but it's archaic to use, and it's not very intuitive, and it's got some weird touch gestures to use to do things that are it just takes too much attention away. And granted, there's a learning curve there, but I'd just rather not learn it.
Yeah. I think that was a case of Mitsubishi doing just a little bit too much there because, like you said, and I don't know anybody listening probably didn't see me nodding my head aggressively. You might have heard me, but it does. It looks great, but it's not great to use. And I don't know why they couldn't have just made it just go back to simple basic knobs here and there. And
Yeah.
if you could have kept the same basic look, you could do away with the touchpad, which is really hate it for me.
Well,
So
it was almost impossible to just select the next station.
yeah, you got to
It
be
really
too
was.
precise.
All these manufacturers have gone through this learning curve, though. They've all been there, and now they're coming out, and the sun is shining on everybody, except maybe Mitsubishi's just a little behind on this. That's all.
And now that they're part of the Renault-Nissan alliance, they'll probably will catch up.
I thought it was peppy enough. I mean, it is pretty torquey. I didn't think it handled particularly well, but I mean, you want to get up and go in a straight line. It's got the torque.
Yeah. So it's a reasonable entry into the subcompact crossover market, but I would say it really is going to depend on price and also whether you've got a Mitsubishi dealer nearby. They do have a great warranty with it.
Do they? What is that?
I believe it's still 10 years.
That is good stuff.
I'm pretty sure.
That was going to be my question. But yeah, the dealer network is slim, so good.
Yeah, 100,000 miles.
It's 10 years, 100,000 miles.
Which I like. I've never owned a Mitsubishi, but I like having Mitsubishi around. Like I get sad anytime
they didn't
a brand.
Go away. I mean,
I get
think
sad anytime a brand leaves.
Go away, so.
I like seeing them on the road. Like I said, I don't have one, but I like having them around. It's
Mitsubishi,
one more choice,
Bring back a small, affordable pickup truck, and I think you would really put a foothold in the States.
I think so, too. Moving on. Our next, we have two more vehicles to cover. Hyundai Kona, which is been quite a surprise and a bit of a delight. It's a little smaller than everybody wants to know. Is it the same as a Kia Niro? No. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit more aggressive.
I was driving the Niro this weekend. Somebody said, "Is that a Kona?"
No, it's actually a different vehicle, and it's pretty. And it's not a hybrid.
Right.
It's pretty cool. It's
again
another. I mean, if you're going to when you compare the Kona to the Eclipse Cross, and they're both basically in the same market, I would say the Kona is much more interesting.
It is quirky cool. When I first saw it from the profile, I saw that lower body cladding. I was like, did Pontiac come back? I thought it was a new vibe or something. I missed some major news.
It is funny how that Aztec styling is coming back in bits and pieces on different cars. And now all of a sudden everybody's like, yeah, I can live with that.
The back end of that Eclipse Cross looks kind of like the Aztec rear window, but we've already. But
that's okay.
You're right. It does have a look that makes it, the cladding, the plastic cladding look on that Kona definitely is.
I think they did.
I think
right.
it's weird because it works so well on that thing. I think it's cool looking.
And it drives well too. It's got a nice ride.
Great.
It's got a better ride than the Tucson.
Is there a battery electric version coming out at some point?
I
feel like there was a tease at one of the auto shows.
Geneva,
I think there was.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Everybody's going to have something.
That platform is just begging for some sort of electrification. But I just drove it literally like an hour ago for the first time. I was impressed with power. It was comfortable inside. I mean, Hyundai has gotten good with interior. I wouldn't say refinement, but everything just looks nice and modern. And what was I just going to say about it? I cannot remember.
I'll tell you, the front seats, we recently did the EcoSport from Ford, and this, you felt like it was much roomier in the front.
Oh, and when I came back, I parked it next to our Niro, and I know they're not directly competing against each other. Right. But the Kona just blows it away in styling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that thing
Niro's
looks... Yeah, it makes the Niro look like 3 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought I grabbed the Kona keys earlier because I had texted you to see if you guys were going to be shooting it this afternoon. And I hopped in the Niro thinking I was in the Kona. And I pressed
Jeez, we're real car people, aren't we?
I pressed the start button, and I'm like, all right, what car am I in? Because you don't hear anything happen in the Niro.
It sings at you whenever you start that bean.
I think it sings, but I just didn't hear an engine, so I'm just so confused earlier at what's going on, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm in the Niro, but I mean, especially after going from Niro to Kona and back to Niro, I mean, the Kona is just, I think that thing is just cool. It looks good, cool. And like we were just talking about with the Eclipse, button-wise, there's there's buttons on the left and buttons on the right, and I love that. It's beautifully integrated into the dashboard, kind of like in, dare I say, like a Mercedes, BMW.
Dare you.
But it looks just really well done.
But that
in
is
there.
the mark,
tacky.
Being kind of like the Korean semi BMW, that's their whole thing at Kia. So
somebody mentioned the startup, and it brought me back, and I hate to go back to Eclipse or any Mitsubishi really, But you notice when you get out of the Mitsubishi, and you know how a lot of them now will say goodbye or so long or forgot
See
their
you.
keys. Yeah, it says see you, just a period, no.
No, actually,
It's so strange.
That is the funniest thing to me. It just says see you,
It's
have
like
to get a
somebody
shot
got
of
that
that.
past, like
not like
final-
see ya or take it easy.
Yeah, have a good day.
Bye
we
now.
need to get a picture of that. That's funny.
Oh, one more thing I need to go on the record. The wheels look Pontiac too. I'm going to do a little research and see if the designer of this vehicle had anything to do with Pontiac in the past.
Well, speaking of performance brands, the last vehicle we're going to talk about today is the 2018 Dodge Challenger GT all-wheel drive. We didn't spend a lot of time with it, but it's another iteration of what has proven to be a very venerable rear-drive chassis.
I would like to go on record to say that I predicted this car 5 years before it happened.
Attaboy.
It was right around the time they were about to do a refresh on the Challenger.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some friends. It's like, hey, it's based on that Charger 300 platform. They've got all-wheel drive. I'm sure, like, bada bing, bada boom, you don't spend a lot of development dollars on it. You have an all-wheel drive Challenger. And then the day that they announced it, which was like 3 years ago now, I was right. I predicted
Give Joe
it.
a hand,
Pixar
everybody.
didn't
Get
happen,
him a
Joe.
ball cap.
Here, have a bottle of water. It's used.
So anyway,
But
That's good.
that's
all
my
good.
self-aggrandizement.
The interesting thing about this is that now that Chrysler is sort of hinting that the Chrysler 300 might disappear, they still need this chassis, so probably they're going to upgrade this chassis and keep it around for quite a while.
So I was thinking, now the other half of my prediction is that they would take the Hemi hybrid out of that terrible Chrysler Aspen and put that in a Challenger, and that never happened. So I was.
You're 50. You're
I'm one for two. So.
All right. Driving it, it's V6, but it's still at 300 horsepower.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad at all.
The only thing missing really is the sound. The power's there. I mean, it's what you want. But yeah, if you're
doesn't
coming out
sound
of a
like a
V8 or you
Challenger.
know what a V8 sounds like,
So you're a
gonna be
trick
missing it.
exhaust away from making it work.
Yeah, which I thought was kind of interesting because you could get a Camaro RS 6-cylinder that sounds really, really nice, raspy. And this thing it's like they made no attempt to make it sound good, which maybe that's just part of their strategy. I'm not sure why, because it's a Challenger, but whatever.
Maybe there's some option to make it sound better. I don't know. I know
It
that
does have but it's weird because it also has an exact quote, a super track pack button, which you just have to push because it says super track pack. But why wouldn't that have some sort of tie-in with
Sounds
exhaust baffles
it
or
should.
something?
Good point. Good point.
That thing is just begging for a snowy parking lot, though. Like, that's all I want with that car. It's
Those
just-
buttons felt a bit gimmicky to me. I'm not
Oh,
gonna
absolutely.
lie, to
Yeah.
pair with the V6.
Super
and-
track pack, you mean?
Super track pack.
I mean, pulling, I parallel parked one time, pulled out, put it in reverse. I'm sitting there, like, waiting. So I hit the gas, and, like, peels wheels, I think, in the rear. And I'm like, hold on. Which car am I in again? And
It seems like a frequent problem with you, not knowing what car it is.
What are you thinking
No,
about
but
so
this,
hard?
but
Do
this
you pay
time,
attention?
no, this time I knew what I was in. I'm just saying just wasn't sure why it was doing what it did. And then
You're like, what?
it took a little bit more time than I wanted it to think about taking off or not. So
That's what we were talking about.
It does
earlier.
feel heavy.
Carry over.
Electronics.
It does feel big and heavy, but all Challengers feel
All right,
big and heavy.
2018 Dodge Challenger GT all-wheel drive. It's about $34,000 to start, and actually, when you compare it to the typical SUV out there today, it's a pretty good buy. Lightning round. All right, this one is, we have 30 seconds to weigh in on a trending topic, each one of us. I will tell you before I mention what the topic is, this one that plays to different ages. I'm can't wait to hear what this table says versus what I say.
Yeah, buddy.
Many of the MotorWeek test cars come with a free trial of Sirius XM satellite radio, which we all enjoy. However, Sirius XM costs around $10 a month. There's many competing forms of in-car entertainment. How many of our staffers pay for satellite radio in their own vehicle or would be willing to? You guys go first.
So everybody here at this table loves music. We all love
Right.
different types of music. We love some of the same music. We are into it, man.
And when you
I
get
like
in
music
one of
as
the
a friend.
vehicles, you'll find a wide array
Yes.
of stations selected.
And sometimes it's fun because you know who was just driving the
Right.
car ahead of you.
That is the best part about Sirius XM.
Yeah, but I mean, one of my gripes with it, I mean, it's better than normally AM FM, but you know, lithium, octane. You tend to hear the same songs. Whereas
There is
if I
some
go
repetition.
to Jam On, I'm gonna get a live
Yeah.
show, you know, that Fish played, as opposed. I don't know. It's just
Do you all have unlimited data on your phone?
I do, and so I'm able to
Okay.
stream through Spotify. You know, whatever I'm feeling that day. So I mean, for me, I'm just my mood's different. I got to hear something different. So I would stick to what I use now.
Anybody else?
I would. It's worth $10 a month. I can't imagine ever being in my own vehicle that long, but if I were to have to drive my own vehicle every day, for sure.
Greg?
Yeah, a couple years ago, I would have made the argument, absolutely, you should get Sirius XM. And if I had a car capable of getting it, I would get it. But, yeah, you bring up a good point with things like Spotify now and all these other streaming services. Honestly, I think if you're down with a specific service, then just go with that, because I have heard, and I'm not an audiophile, but there are a lot of complaints that Sirius compresses music so much that it sounds really bad. I can't really pick up on that, but apparently if you are an audiophile, maybe it's better to stream. Even though that's not the best, it's better than satellite from what I hear.
Joe, anything for you?
I think Sirius needs to reorient themselves as a music streaming company and not a satellite radio company. Just in terms of marketing, I'm not saying they need to change their infrastructure.
Well, they
but
actually do that.
I know they
on
have
their-
an app,
on
and I
their-
know they have
and
stuff
on
for
the
computers
website and all that,
But
and it costs extra.
You say Sirius, and the first thing people think of is
Satellite
cars.
radio.
They need to find a way to reorient just their branding so that people will see them as a Spotify competitor, an iTunes competitor, that sort of thing. I like their stations. I like the music. I like not having to pick the music and somebody picks it for me. But I think it's a branding thing more than an actual sound quality
All
thing.
right, now the old man's going to speak. I have been, before Sirius and XM got together, I was an XM subscriber from the first month they were available in one of my personal cars. I have it in all of my personal cars. However, I do not pay full price every month. They do all kind of deals during the year, and you basically sit around waiting for them, and you leap on them, because when you've got 3 or 4 vehicles, you've got it in every vehicle, that can be really start adding up. I love it for long trips. You do, I think Greg or someone said some of the stations repeat, others don't, and you got to basically hone in on the ones that don't. I'm a jazz fan. Watercolors, which they're always kidding me that the radio's left on, they repeat pretty quickly, but over on their real jazz station, they almost never do. So I like the system. However, even I'm finding that I'm listening to things like Spotify and Pandora when I'm on the road because I've got unlimited data, and why wouldn't you use that? But I do like it. I wonder about all these satellite services and cable services on TV. What is their long-range game plan? Because people are getting away from it.
I think it's just I think the music, the content is great. I think it's just they
I
need
like
to
the
reorient
DJs.
themselves.
I mean, I must have said I enjoy the personalities.
If you like that and sports, and you might be able to correct me, is there a different package that you have to pay for to get the sports, or is it all just $10 a month you get every
No,
channel?
there are a number of different if you pay
sports
for a
package.
year, and there are there's a couple of cut down packages. Some of them they don't even tell you about until you threaten to quit. But I think almost all of them have the majority of the sports channels. I'm not sure what all of them do, but
That
I
would be
know
worth
I've cut down a couple levels.
If you're just a general sports fan,
it's got
that
a
way
lot of
it
sports.
saves
Wow.
you from having to be a MLB subscriber, an NFL subscriber, an NBA subscriber. That way you can just have all your sports on Sirius XM.
Yeah. That's it.
I
That
see.
was a good lightning round. We do have a viewer question. This is from Carlo from Syracuse, New York. It used to be low-profile tires were found only on sporty cars because they provide better handling at the expense of a harsher ride. Nowadays, new sedans and even SUVs come with super low-profile tires. What gives? Has there been some development in tire and suspension design that makes this a sensible choice for non-sporty cars? Well, yeah. If they're coming from the factory that way, they've tuned the springs to help compensate and the shocks.
But it's
But
mostly
the real thing
looks,
is
right?
people just want big wheels.
Style, yeah. Everybody wants big wheels, and
That
there's a push
Navigator.
for everybody wants to say their performance.
20-inch wheels
and I
there,
think,
folks.
I think I'm not sure, but would it also have to do with lower rolling resistance since you have a shorter sidewall, making it stiffer?
Yeah.
Less rolling resistance.
Could
better
be,
fuel
but it
economy.
also builds up heat faster.
That's true.
The lower the side roll is. But I've never heard anybody talk about a fuel advantage concept because most low rolling resistance tires tend to be on smaller wheels.
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
true.
harder rubber,
just
but they're
harder
still on
rubber.
smaller wheels.
I think it's all style. And then, the manufacturer will tune the suspension for that, which means if you replace those wheels with something either shorter or taller, you've thrown the calibration of the suspension out the window.
Well, and we've even complained on some of these cars that have really amazing suspensions that even they can't compensate for the harshness of those wheels. What was it, an Audi Q7 or something we drove that you'd hit a bump and it would be like wham, and then
we just had that
slowly
McLaren
modulate out.
570S convertible, and there was a half-inch deep pothole on Deer Park
God.
Road. I mean, it was nothing. Most cars would go over it wouldn't feel it. That car had a great ride until you hit that pothole, and you thought your teeth were going to come out of your mouth. And that you look out, it has super low profile tires on it, so that's your expense there. Yeah. Anyway, the answer is, Carlo, it's for looks mostly, but the cars do come fairly much tuned for it. Hope that gives you some insight, but you're going to find low profile tires on just about everything. Rant and rave, anything eating at anyone? Anyone?
This has not
Here
much
we
to do with
go.
cars, but
Let her rip.
when I was a kid, there was snowball trucks and ice cream trucks all the time, and now there aren't any.
There aren't any.
Sorry, guys.
You used to hear the
I had
chime
one
coming
come to
down
mind.
the street, and everyone would run out.
Yeah, and they were really cool looking trucks. And
Yeah, I have one come.
That was
Kids
lame.
aren't allowed to
Just
play
always at the
outside
wrong-
anymore.
Well, the problem is like, and I'm sure they've probably updated their systems, but I never have cash on me. So like, even if I want an ice cream and I see one, I'm like, oh man, I don't have cash.
maybe that's it.
Do you take Apple Pay?
Well, I'm sure they have to because it's getting
I'm
so
sure they
ubiquitous
do.
now,
They
and
got
I would
a
gladly.
chip swipe machine.
I would gladly pay. I'd probably buy more ice cream if I would just be able to whip my phone out and pay for
But the
it.
kids don't have cards, but they probably have money.
They probably have
What's
phones.
the
This might be a nice Shark Tank idea.
What's the one that was in this area? And I keep wanting to say
The cow?
Mr. Frosty or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Anyway, well, that was
Good
an interesting
humor.
way.
Thank you, Jim.
Good humor. Thank you, Jim. Our audio engineer saved us again.
Does anybody remember the video game Twisted Metal where the
Yeah.
one guy drives like the
Yeah.
deadly
Love that.
ice cream truck, has like rocket launchers?
I think we're going to end this time. All right, that is bringing to a close this
Sorry,
MotorWeek
guys. That
podcast
was
184. I want to thank everybody around the table today. Audio engineer, you just heard from him, Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and, of course, today's producer and usually our producer, Joe Ligo. Thank you out there for watching MotorWeek and listening to our podcast and watching our video podcast and watching us every week on public television stations and our website and YouTube and on Velocity, all the places that you could see us, hear us, find out what we've got on our minds. It's because of you that we all love this job. So on behalf of everybody at MotorWeek, thanks for being a part of our show. See you next time.
You've been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, WeatherTech, Hum by Verizon, RockAuto.com, and State Farm. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.